Hi guys, Tech here, and I wanted to continue Headhunter Week with some theory crafting. So if you are not already familiar, I am doing a Headhunter giveaway, and I will link the video below in case you would like to get details regarding that. And it is completely free to enter, which is fantastic. It's my way of saying thank you. If you would be so kind as to like, comment, subscribe, it does really help the channel grow and I do greatly appreciate it. What we're going to be doing today is a way too early before patch notes look at some possible builds that will be in the bossing category. So kind of things that I'm looking at possibly league starting with. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I have essentially like 5 different builds here. Only one of these am I actually worried about what could happen with it, and that is the VDDD Spellslinger. DD has been kind of contentious because there is a very strong Ignite DD, while DD itself is in the ballpark of reasonable. The Ignite version of DD is very, very strong. So they could nuke DD from orbit or mechanically change part of how it could work, which may take that build off of the table. But as of this point, I want to give like some 5 just generic ideas to kind of get the juices flowing in things that I'm looking at least at this point without patch notes. Now, once we get patch notes, this will become a little more solidified and it will be less speculation. But let's take a look at the first one, which is going to be Eye of Winter Totem. So the benefit of Eye of Winter Totems is Eye of Winter Totems is going to give you a lot of chill and a lot of freeze naturally because the way the skill works. It is very defensive. Coupling that with totems gives us a way to have decent clear speed and also really good boss interactions and being able to mechanically move while we're figuring out the new mechanics. Most of this build is going to be centered around defenses, and you're going to kind of notice a theme with the majority of these, that they're going to be very defense heavy. And that is because we want to be able to survive making mistakes, as these mechanics are going to be new. So I want to give myself more room for error than I normally would. And I kind of always want to get at least 2 to 3 defensive layers, and preferably on the 3 side of things. So what we're looking at here is we're going to have Divine Shield. We're going to be double block cap, so base block as well as spell block. We're going to have enough armor for Divine Shield to trigger, and this will be a CI based character, which is why there's no life on the tree. Now, I would personally love to have more energy shield nodes. There just wasn't an efficient way for me to get a higher energy shield number than what I have here. Now, of course, the gearing for this stuff is not min-max to the nth degree, so there is some room for improvement, and this does give us a pretty good baseline. Now, the other thing we can always do is we could always focus a little less on the block and compensate with more pure energy shield if you wanted to go that route and just wanted the higher overall life pool. You could absolutely go that route. This gives you a basic idea of kind of my thought process on Eye of Winter totems. The other thing is, like, if Eye of Winter gets nuked for whatever reason, this also works with basically any cold based totem. So you could do Winter Orb, you could do Ice Nova, Ice Spear, anything like that. If you go Ice Nova, Ice Spear, if you go Ice Spear or Freezing Pulse specifically, you would have to change out the gems because you would want the threshold jewels, so you don't have to run GMP in your main links, because it's a very significant damage loss. but pretty malleable. And you'll notice that most of these builds are fairly malleable. The next one is Generic Crit Miner, and I just named it that because without patch notes, I really don't know specifically which direction I would want to go. And I wanted this build to be able to easily swap out some points to add some points. So this cluster right here is very easily removable. And if we remove that cluster, it does give us access to go here for Fizz, here for Chaos, here for Cold, here for Lightning, here for Fire. So here for Lightning, here for Fire. So it really has some good pathing options based on whatever mine you want to go with. So like if it looks like Pyroclast Mine is going to be really strong, we can go into some Fire and some Ignite. If it looks like Icicle Mine is going to be really strong, we can go into some Cold and some Freeze or Chill. We just have a little bit of pliability here, which is very nice. This one has no gear on it whatsoever, which is why you're only seeing these 48% chance to spell suppress. Once we had gear on this character, it would be at like 58, and then of course you just make up the difference on gear itself from that 58 to 100. Then let's take a look at RF Inquisitor, and I'll pull this guy back a little bit. So this one's going to be one that I snagged and made some changes to, is kind of the thought process here. What you're looking for in RF Inquisitor is it is extremely mobile. It has a pretty ease to get started with, and you have a regen layer plus divine shield layer. Even though we don't have the best block or spell suppression, we do have a lot of natural regen, and it's going to have pretty good damage as well. So this is something, if we don't get really any info and you kind of don't know what to play, something along this line will probably be a pretty safe league starter. It won't have the best clear speed in the world, but it won't be the worst either. All right, so VDDD Spellslinger, this is the exact carbon copy of what I played for Delve League, and I made the video build guide for with Delve League. It's pretty straightforward. We do have pretty good block. It should be capped with offerings and everything applied. And then if you want to get block, if you want to cap block, you can invest a little bit more into it and possibly like pull out of this node, which is just pure damage, or this guy, which actually, no, this is block. You can pull out of this guy, which is just pure damage. What else you can also pull out of this stuff right here. The brand stuff, it's not super necessary. It's more of applying debuffs than anything else. So there's some flexibility here if you do want to go all in and cap your block. This also does open up the door if you remove this and remove this, where you could also go into like Divine Shield and then get a chest piece that has Energy Shield as life. And you could also go like Zabakwa or Corrupted Soul, either of those as well, just to kind of crank up the survivability factor a little bit. But just some ideas, just some rough ideas. This is the one that could possibly get nerfed. I don't think they'll nerf this. If anything, they'll put like a less damage over time multiplier on it, which we're not really. Just to give you an idea, like, we're getting Ignite DPS, but it's not the majority of our DPS in this build, so it's not as big of a deal as it would be to a pure Ignite DD. Then the last one is a Warchief Totem Champion. This has the lowest overall survivability out of everything, the gearing is not optimal because I did decide to go kind of more the Divine Shield route. The gear is basically pure armor, so I would want to change it to armor evasion or armor energy shield hybrid and lower that armor number down because you don't need 50k armor realistically in any scenario. Now you can get by with like 40 or 30. So the idea is tone down the armor a little bit, increase the energy shield numbers a little bit higher to get a better balance on something along these lines. But this is going to be a Impale, Ancestral Bond, Warchief Totem build. We will be using one of the steel skills to trigger the skewering and to get you that extra uptime. So just something that is kind of just a generic, pretty well-rounded build. It won't have the best DPS in the world, but I'm not really worried about the damage because I can always make better gear or switch gems around and get awaken supports and things like that to increase the damage number. Plus, we don't know if there's going to be new modifiers that will possibly increase the damage on any of these builds as well. So that's something to consider, that we may have more damage output as a result of getting a new in-game system. Because we got a lot of damage output from Crusader, Redeemer, what are the other two? Hunter and Warlord. We got a lot of damage output from those, so maybe we get even more coming this time around. We just had to wait and see. But again, these are just kind of generic ideas that could possibly work before patch notes. Kind of what I've been tinkering around with in the background. And I hope this is helpful, and I hope this gets your creative juices flowing. And maybe you start pre-planning some stuff as well. The other thing is, if there is a build you would like to see theory crafted before patch notes, let me know in the comments down below. So if there's something in particular that you've always wanted to see if it could work, or if there's a way to maximize the damage or maximize the survivability, let me know down below. I'm completely okay with taking on stuff that gets no playability whatsoever and seeing if I can POB master it up and figure out a way of making it work. And then I have enough characters on standard, I might even be able to play test it and see how it goes. Just kind of killing time before patch notes are released next week. But anyway, y'all have a wonderful rest of your day and good luck on the Headhunter contest. I'm rooting for you. Have a great one, Exiles.